Welcome to the Rocket Top Rewind. I'm Eric Kane alongside Brent Hubbs here on this Sunday evening following a Tennessee win in the Swamp. It's been a couple of decades, Brent, since we could say that, leaving leaving Gainesville, Florida, 31 to 11. The final score, Tennessee wins over Florida. We'll spend the next hour looking back at that win and taking your questions throughout the hour, looking ahead to what Tennessee has in store for the season, a regular season finale against Vanderbilt. We'll have Joey Dwyer coming on from Vanderbilt SI, and he'll give us the lowdown on Vanderbilt and kind of what's in store for Tennessee here at Neyland Stadium to put a cap on the regular season. The Rockets Up Rewind presented each week by our friends over at Spivey King and Spivey LLP. If you have a need, pick up the phone today. A free consultation, 423-245-4185. That is Spivey King and Spivey LLP.com as well. All right, Brent Hubbs, Tennessee 31, Florida 11. A really good night down there in Gainesville where, man, I mean, you could not dream of a better start in this football game, and that start was all Tennessee needed. Coasted in the second half, and again, Tennessee won by 20 points, the most, tying the program record for the biggest win in Gainesville, dating back to, I believe, 1950.
Yeah, and it could have been worse if Tennessee wanted it to in the second half. But, I mean, Tennessee decided to play it smart. I think smart in the second half was simply just, look, the only way you're going to lose that game is if you do something goofy in the second half and you turn it over and all those types of things. Florida waved the white flag. I mean, Florida threw it 7 times in the second half, down 31-3 or 31-0 at the half, and they come out and they throw it 7 times in the second half. I mean, they were done. They waved the white flag, so Tennessee got out of there, and great start. I thought it was a plan of patience and not of greed, which I think was important for this offense, given the way Florida was playing them. And they went and got it done, and it was a party at the end for Tennessee fans because everybody else had gone to the house.
Yeah, I mean, there were some Florida fans that were starting to leave, the beginning of the second quarter, and by that point in time, it was 14-0, and then Tennessee scored again, and but overall, I thought that Tennessee just got out there and did what they wanted to do. Of course, lost the opening coin toss, but took the football and marched down the field 9 plays, ran it 6 times, and Tennessee certainly ran it a ton to ice the game in the second half. But I thought they made it a point to be patient and run the football. I mean, Deshaun Bishop had 16 first half carries, and I thought that was really big. And Ethan Davis kind of bookended that first drive, and Miles Giltzman didn't play. Ethan Davis his first start, and of course, he's been playing when healthy this year, but I thought he was really, really good the other night. And again, it was about pretty much anything that could go right for Tennessee went right in the first half. Anything that could go wrong for Florida went wrong. I mean, they had 2 punts down inside the 5-yard line, one at the 6, one at the 1. They had the opening kickoff of the second half, fair caught, didn't catch it, balls down at the 2. On their first drive, they had that wheel route, and Tennessee's defense didn't pick it up, and a holding penalty called it back, and that kind of set the tone for Florida. What a big miscue there, because they couldn't get anything after that, especially in the first half. And I think Tennessee heard about 2003 all week long. They went down there with a plan. They executed that plan, and they did it without Wendell Moy. I mean, he was available, but Tennessee's best offensive lineman didn't play in this football game, and the Vols just bullied them up front, ran for 250 yards. I thought there was going to be an opportunity to run the football. They allowed Ole Miss and Kentucky to run all over them, and Tennessee kind of followed suit. And when you can run the football consistently and effectively, take some pressure off your quarterback, and your quarterback started 9 for 9, he was super efficient in this football game.
Well, and again, I think part of that was dictated by how Florida chose to play. And I think Florida was afraid of giving up the deep ball, and so they decided to go the direction of the death by 1,000 paper cuts as opposed to getting gashed. And to Tennessee's credit, Florida wanted to see, I think, if Tennessee would be patient enough with it, and they were. And Josh Heupel told me at the half, that one of the reasons for their offensive success, in addition to the running backs playing well and blocking some things well up front, is Florida was giving away grass. I mean, with their defensive scheme and kind of the way they were lining up and doing things, they were given the opportunities to run the football, and Tennessee took full advantage of that. And the bottom line is, and I think this is my bigger takeaway, maybe my biggest takeaway, is this was a football team that was completely ready to play. They understood what was on the line. They understood the importance, the historical importance of winning this game to former players, to fans, to everybody. It was a really big deal for them, even though that they're quote not in the playoffs. They understand the significance of that game, and they went and got themselves ready to play all week long. I don't think Josh Heupel had to do a bunch of sales job to get his team ready to play. They were ready to play. It showed from the opening kick, and they kept it down. I mean, they were solid all night long. Now that's not a Florida team that's very good. I think it's a Florida team that melded in pretty bad. Um, I think Tennessee may have ended up dressing more players than Florida did last night, which kind of tells you where Florida's roster is. They're in a complete overhaul and a reset down there. But it doesn't take anything away from Tennessee's win. You take that win, you appreciate the win, you enjoy the win, and the fact that, again, that they said no mas. They were done. And you were the reason why they said they were done, because of the way you played in the first half.
Want further evidence to know that Florida was done there in that second half? They punted on their first possession of the second half. They scored right before the end of the third quarter. They were down, I believe at the time it was 31-0 down. They go 71 yards on 13 plays on a drive that started at their own 1, and on 4th and 8, down 31-0. They kicked the field goal. And I believe there was a streak of a couple hundred games alive where they hadn't been shut out or whatever. Maybe that might be like the 200-yard passing thing for Joey Aguilar just to make sure you get it. But I could not believe they kicked that field goal there. And then I saw that. I'm like, okay, well, there's that. They scored a late touchdown later on in the football game, in the fourth quarter. Tennessee held on to the football for the last 7 minutes and 11 seconds. The second half was very condensed. And when you go back and look at the stat sheet, again, Tennessee goes touchdown, 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 punt, field goal. Tennessee just dominated this football game. Man, you see we're not talking next year yet, but I mean, you see so many young guys step up even more so than they already have. Like, I mean, Deshaun Bishop's been there all year long. Juwan Morris played a lot in this football game. We know those young receivers that are expected to be back next year. Jack Van Dorselaer played a ton of snaps. Tasson Brain got in there and played some. Ethan Davis was the guy. Talking about offensively. Defensively, you had Jaden Perlotti. Didn't play as many snaps, and it was kind of weird because they went 4-3 to combat the 12 personnel look. And also you wrote maybe because, Boo Carter's no longer there, there's not a lot of depth at star. So they had a nice little wrinkle there defensively. But you saw Edwin Spillman, Jeremiah Thielander, and Arian Carter play on the same field a lot. I thought that was pretty neat. Saw a lot of young talent get in there and get some significant run in this football game, like Juwan Morris, and I thought that was really important.
Yeah, I mean, injuries made that happen and forced you to do that, but give Tennessee credit. I mean, they were committed to getting Juwan Morris on the field. They had said going in they were going to do that, and they did. And I thought he did some good things. I thought he ran hard. I'm sure there's a million things he missed. I thought he had a couple of nice blitz pickups, to be honest with you. I thought that was an area where he improved. From the last time we had seen him, he fell forward. I mean, I thought Tennessee's running backs ran it well. It was the interesting second half. Tennessee had the football 3 times in the second half. That was it. 3 possessions in the second half. I think Florida had it 3 times. It was like a 6-possession second half, which is very NFL-like in a lot of ways and a very different type deal. But you start looking at that linebacker rotation, and you're trying to figure it out. Like, okay, what was the story here? What was the story there? They only had 47 snaps. The defense only played 47 snaps. Well, I mean, Arian Carter, if he's healthy, is going to play. And he's going to play a lot of those snaps. So, I mean, I think his return and the fact that there was only 47 snaps is a bit of the reason why Jaden Perlotti only got 10 snaps in that game and not anything of any greater significance, which I think is unfortunate because I think he's playing well. I think you're going to need him Saturday against Vanderbilt, but it's just kind of the way the game went. I mean, if Florida was going to throw it a bunch in the second half and you're going to have a bunch of possessions, it might have been different. But the way they played it was to go home and Tennessee, I mean, again, 47 snaps is a low number of offensive snaps in a football game in this day and age of college football.
No, it really is. And again, it's because the game was condensed a little bit there in the second half, like you mentioned. And I thought Tennessee defense, they missed more tackles in this game than they did the previous 2 games. They had 14 missed tackles, according to Pro Football Focus, where they had 5 against Oklahoma, 5 against New Mexico State. I thought, there's a couple runs there by DJ Lagway. Jaden Ball played a heck of a game. He's a good back, man. I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
earned every bit of his 96 yards on 18 carries. But still, I thought Tennessee's defense played well. Really good on third down. And again, this is not the greatest show on turf. Okay, I'm not trying to amp it up to be, but this is a Power 4 opponent. You had your best defensive showing against a SEC opponent, Power 4 opponent. 11 points, the second fewest of the year. 261 yards. That's the fewest yards allowed since ETSU. And there was a one point in time in the first quarter where Tennessee was outgaining Florida 202 yards to 1 yard. I mean, again, it was like you had that holding penalty for Florida on that big play on drive one, and then they just didn't have anything else in the first half. And so give credit to Tennessee's defense. I think they've played better here of late, and then it was a little bit different because there was some big-time limitations to Florida's offense, but they had that 4-3 look, less snaps. They did a really good job, and I think that Tennessee's defense overall has been disappointing in terms of the scoring defense and yards and all that, but the last 3 weeks, it's certainly turned a corner.
Well, I think the question is how big of a corner has it turned? And we're going to find that out on Saturday afternoon when Vanderbilt comes to town, because that is a limited Florida team. They're limited offensively in what they can do. Oklahoma is not a stretch the field offense. Every time you watch them play, you see that. Kentucky's not the most stretch the field offense, so they don't try to. Now they popped 2 on Tennessee. New Mexico State was not that. This is a different beast you're getting on Saturday. Now, I think Tennessee is better on defense. I do. I think Hobbs is much better than he, now that he's gotten healthy. I think a healthy Arion Carter makes a difference. I think Spillman has gotten better and better as the season has gone along. I think Ty Redmond's got a little bit of his swagger back, if you will. I think he's playing with more confidence. So I think there are certainly things that you look at and say, man, they're doing stuff better. They're playing better. How much of it is, man, they're playing a whole lot better versus, well, they've got a little bit of a break here because they haven't played the most threatening offenses. This is I won't say, I'll say it. This is as complete of an offense as Tennessee's played in a while. Pavia does a lot of different things. He's on a heater right now. He's completing almost 80% of his throws the last 3 games. He's running the football. They've got they've got the best tight end in the league, in Stowers, and obviously the relationship that he and Pavia have. They've got a couple big play weapons on the outside. They're dangerous. They're different. They're more dangerous than what you played. So all of this growth of the defense is going to get put to the test on Saturday, but they are definitely better than they were a month ago defensively. I mean, I thought they were really poor coming out of Kentucky. I did. I thought Tennessee played really poor in that game. And they gave up big plays. They tackled poorly. Their leverage was really bad. All of those types of things. And I think they've really went to work and corrected a good bit of those issues. They've just got to play like that and show it on Saturday.
Got a Vanderbilt offense that is second in the SEC in scoring, right behind Tennessee at 38.9. Vanderbilt is 5th in the league in yards per game at 458. Passing yards per game, they're 4th in the league at 283. Rushing yards per game, they're down there a little bit around 7th at 174. But overall, a very balanced offense. You look at what Pavia has done specifically, and you got Joey Aguilar that's still leading the SEC in passing yards, but Aguilar with his, I think he had 5 touchdowns yesterday, or maybe 4, or whatever it was. He's leading Marcel Reed now, 26 touchdown passes in the league. That's number 1. Quarterback rating, he's the first quarterback there, 174.2. Joey Aguilar's behind him in second place. So, again, this is an offense led by a quarterback that, as we know, is very dynamic, and this is kind of his last go-around. We'll learn more about Vanderbilt here in a moment when we ask Joey Dwyer to come on the show. Let's get to some of your questions real quick, going back to yesterday's game. Nashville 615, what's the status of Deshaun Bishop's ankle? Any other injuries to monitor? Yeah, Bishop went down a couple different times, but he came back in. Brent, you were down there. You can fill us in more. But after he went out the second time, he came back in on 4th and 1 and 3rd and 1, and then they took him right back out. So that last time he jumped up and was kind of high stepping over there, like, he looks fine to me, unless you have anything to add.
No, I think he's fine. I mean, I think part of that, remember, he had a really, really bad ankle injury that cost him. So I think, when he has a little pain there, I don't want to say it scares him, but it certainly causes some pause there. And I think he'll be fine and ready to go on Saturday. I like him getting more touches. I think that should continue. I don't know who posted it in here. Somebody posted it in here. I saw it as we were talking earlier, and I tend to agree with him. I think this offense is better when it's two running backs and not trying to keep three happy all the time. I think, do they trust DeJuan Morris in this one on Saturday, or do we see a little more Star Thomas? How do we see Tennessee, in the run game on Saturday? But Bishop should be fine from an injury standpoint elsewhere. Jackson Moy's dealing with a shoulder deal. We'll see where that one's at as the week goes along. I think it's going to be okay. Certainly seemed that way at the end of the game, but he certainly had a shoulder twice, came out of the game twice for shoulder stuff. And Wendell Moy should be much better this week. Obviously, he didn't play a snap. He dressed, but the hope is that he would be better this week, and they can go that direction if they want to. I thought Tennessee's offensive line was solid. I thought they did a nice job to help with some of the pass rush stuff by rolling Aguilar out. I like some of the design rollout stuff that they did. I think it limited some of the greed, if you will, that kind of forced it out of his hands in some ways. But I like that move to help the offensive line out. I thought they run blocked pretty well. Pass protection was okay. I mean, they gave up the one sack, a couple other pressures, but overall, I thought it was a really good night for that offensive line.
Donovan chimes in and says, man, we know Ethan Davis has blocking issues, even though he's been getting better, but man, he is a playmaker with the football in his hands. Yeah, man, I thought he's played really well since he's come back. He missed, several games there midway through the season, but I thought that he's played really well. He's played determined. I think his physicality, and that's always been the challenge for him dating back to when he first arrived on campus. I mean, he played wide receiver in high school. He was a big wide receiver, and he had to learn how to put a hand in the dirt and play H-back and, play on the line and all that different stuff. And he is a difference maker with the ball in his hands. We've always known that. But I thought the play concept on that touchdown on the drive number 1 was really, really neat. Again, just another wrinkle. We've seen several in this offense. I thought that was cool, lining him up as H-back, bringing him over, throwing the football. You have Mike Matthews out there on the perimeter coming to – he can't crack back anymore, or I assume he can't crack back. I'm sure that's a penalty. He didn't, but he was coming into the block and kind of seal that edge there. Ethan Davis looked good, and I love his mindset. I mean, he said a couple different times on the record, like, now's my time. I knew they weren't going to the transfer portal. If Miles didn't come back, then it was going to be me and Holden stays. If Miles came back, Holden was going to leave. I mean, I was never leaving. This is my home. But, like, when they're not going to the portal, like, you're kind of the guy. And so I think that's kind of helped him throughout the last year. I like his mindset, and I really enjoy seeing him play football because he's starting to come around.
Well, and here's the thing. He doesn't have to be a road grade blocker. Yeah. He's just got to be a willing blocker, and I think he's become a much more willing blocker with the physicality to do it and to be more effective. And he's only going to get better. He's got to stay healthy. I think that's the one challenge. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't real thrilled that he was the guy on the receiving end of the Joey Aguilar 15-yard pass to get him over 200 or whatever, because I'm like, I'd get him out of the game at that point. I'd be playing some other tight end instead of Ethan Davis there. But no, I like the way he's playing. I like the way they're using him. They've got to continue to use him that way. They've got to use him in the seam. They got to use him on the out stuff. They've got to use him as, quite frankly, with their best pass receiving weapon at the tight end position since they've been here, and they've got to play to that strengths. They can't tell him his strengths is to block all the time. He's on the field. They're going to have to get him incorporated in the passing game. And I thought Joey Halsley, Josh Heupel did a really smart thing early in this game, Eric. I thought getting Davis involved early in the passing game as a starter gets him going and kind of gets him revved up. I thought getting Mike Matthews' hands on the ball on the end around early in that game was a smart move as well, to get his hands on the ball, get him a touch, kind of get him going. I like the design to do those two things specifically to get those two guys going in the football game, because I think being engaged early is important for both of those players.
Yeah, and it only helps your quarterback as well, kind of to continue to get him going and get off to a good start. Again, he started 9 for 9. Really efficient day for Joey Aguilar. Ben chimes in, says it's really frustrating for 2 years fans online treat beating rivals with disdain. Got to win by 30 instead of 20. It's never enough. I'm 34. We last beat Florida at Florida when I was 12. I have no issue with the second half at all. Again, you were up 31-0 at halftime. And again, we've already talked about it. The game was kind of condensed, with only 3 possessions on offense. Where a lot of people, and I'm really surprised that a lot of people on the board disagree with this, because it was not the tenor during the game thread when emotions are high. And I know you wrote about this as well. Like, I understand kicking the field goal, go up 5 possessions into the break. You don't want to take a chance there like you did at Alabama. I mean, I hear you, but I can't get past this. You had 1st and 10 from the 11, 23 seconds, 1 timeout. Take some shots. You run it twice, you kick a field goal. Like, that's the only thing in this football game I'm going to nitpick. That's the only thing. But again, if it was 14-0, if it was 21-14, if it was 35-24, I mean, maybe that's different. It was 28-0 at that point in time. So I'm nitpicking, but I just don't understand 1st and 10 from the 11, 23 seconds and a timeout. Take some shots there. What say you on that situation? But overall, Ben, I'm with you, man. I mean, you beat Florida. There's not a lot to complain about in this game. You 31-0 at one point in time. You won by 20. You celebrate, you take it, and you move on to Vanderbilt.
Well, there's 3 plays that stand out to me. One, with 7 minutes or so to go in the second quarter, you got a 3rd and 5 at the Florida 49. I think you're up 28-0 at that point. I don't like just a straight handoff to Morris there to try to get 5 yards on 3rd and 5. Now, maybe the thought was, well, if he gets 3 yards, we'll go for it on 4th and 2. I mean, your quarterback had 1 incomplete pass at that point. I mean, roll him out, and he can run, or he can throw it away, or he can take a little quick out to somebody for 5 yards. I did not like that 3rd and 5 call. I just didn't. I didn't feel like it was super aggressive to go for a 1st down there, which I would have preferred to see, because I think it was hard to expect the freshman to get you 5 yards, even though you're running the ball well. I just didn't like that one. And then in terms of the goal line deal, you got a receiver with Chris Brazel's catching radius that he has. Give me one back pylon fade. Line him up in the slot. Let him run a slot fade. You ran the play against Alabama a year ago for a touchdown that was the game winner. Throw it out there. Only person that's going to get it's Chris Brazel. If you don't get it, kick the field goal. It's not the end of the world. I would have liked to have seen a shot there, because here's the one thing that's interesting. You had limited possessions in the second half, but if you score in either one of those 2 scenarios I just mentioned, or you score in both of them, if that game is 38-0 at the half, or if it's 42-0 at the half, what are you doing in the second half with your personnel?
Mm-hmm.
You're getting your quarterback on the field. You're getting Justin Baker in the game at tailback. You're not running Deshaun Bishop on a tender ankle on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 in the fourth quarter. That was my only thing. I thought you could have put that one away in the second quarter and been more aggressive, a little more aggressive there, particularly that series right at the end of the half when you're at the 11-yard line. The second half, I would have played it exactly the way that they played it. Now, in my heart of hearts, I'm not going to sit here and lie to anybody. In my heart of hearts, stomp on their throat. I've dealt with every loss under the sun. You don't owe me anything. It's my job to handle and cover football games, win or loss. But there's some demons you could exercise that would have made me happier. But I understand the decision to set on the ball, so to speak, and run the clock and get out of there, because you remember 2014 when it was 9-0 in the fourth quarter at Tennessee was in complete control of the football game, and sack fumble right at the end of the third sets them up. Florida all of a sudden gets a touchdown. It's 9-7. Everybody gets tight, and then you end up losing that football game. There's no reason to take those kind of chances in that ball game in the second half. So I totally get the second half. I would have liked to have seen those scenarios I just mentioned being a little more aggressive, and maybe that's just my personal preference and greed there. I mean, I don't think Josh Heupel did anything wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
I just didn't personally enjoy the management of those 2 things.
Yeah, and again, if the game was closer, maybe that's different. You're not nitpicking up 28-0, or you're not scolding up 28-0. This is nitpicking right here.
Yeah, oh yeah, totally.
That's literally the only thing I would say. I think I think it's a great coach game. We're going to get to our guests here in just a moment. Before we do, let's get a super chat here from Dustin. Dustin, really appreciate the super chat as always. Said they seem to keep things simple, which made things look easier. Do you think there was a change in philosophy last night?
I don't know that they kept it simpler. I tell you what they didn't do last night is they weren't greedy. They played with patience. They literally took what was given in front of them. Florida State in those safety high looks, Eric, and said, you're not going to throw it over our head. And Tennessee didn't try to force anything over their head. One time they tried to take, two times. One was a sack fumble. The other, they threw a deep ball to Chris Brazzell, and there was double coverage there. It had nowhere to go with that ball. So I don't know that it was a more simple game plan. I think it was a more patient game plan, and it was a patient game plan that was executed really well.
I would agree. And again, you could not like I wrote about this morning. There have been some really good starts on the road in the Heupel era over the years. Alabama 2023, Georgia 2024. You just couldn't sustain it. Well, Tennessee started well, sustained it, was up 31-0, and then went into cruise control, and you won down there in the Swamp for the first time since 2003. We'll get to Joey Dwyer when we come back, Vandy SI, get some thoughts on the Vanderbilt matchup coming up, and then we'll get back to your questions as we conclude here the Rocky Top Rewind here on a Sunday night. Rewind is presented by the great people over at Spivey King and Spivey LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. That is TN Trial Lawyers. They specialize in criminal defense, family law, and personal injuries, examples of which could be DUI, assault, divorce, custody, alimony, parental rights, personal injuries such as car wrecks. Over 80 years of combined experience, Spivey King and Spivey LLP provides representation throughout state and federal courts of Northeast Tennessee. The firm has a vast amount of trial experience. With this practice been in place for 43 years, this specific partnership of Matthew A. Spivey, J. Matt King, and Richard A. Spivey, great guys, Tennessee fans like you and I, since 2012, while also having partners who are energized and ready for today's modern legal demands. They practice primarily in Northeast Tennessee, but they serve the Tri-Cities of Sullivan County, Hawkins County, Washington County, and surrounding areas as well here in East Tennessee. The firm has multiple awards who have attorneys who have been rated by super lawyers in the Mid-South with real trial experience. So whether you've been injured in a car accident, need help with a divorce, help with custody of your children, or you've been accused of a crime, Spivey King and Spivey LLP, they can help you. 423-245-4185 for a free consultation. Dial 423-245-4185. Check them out online as well at SpiveyKingandSpiveyLLP.com. Spivey King and Spivey LLP, if you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. That is TN Trial Lawyer. Also want to give a shout out to Game Time, who's a part of the Rocky Top Rewind during football season as well. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's a hack for unlocking amazing tickets, experiences in just a few taps. Incredibly easy to use. The Game Time guarantee means that you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included. So what you see is what you are paying for. They've got zone deals where you can save money where I pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save a whole lot of money. They got the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. Plus, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Again, it's essentially the app that gives the advantage back to the fans because there's so many different queues and hidden fees, and sometimes it's more trouble than it's worth. Not with Game Time, all right? I've used it. We go to Smokies games in the summer, okay, before football season. We used it a couple times this past summer. I loved it. It was so simple, and it was a way that I found cheap tickets and, at a great affordable price, right? Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets for the rest of the season, college basketball as well, showtimes in your area. You download the Game Time app, put in the promo code ON3, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create that account, redeem code ON3 for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today.
Welcome back into the Rocky Top Rewind. Glad to have you on with us on this Sunday night talking about Tennessee and Florida. The Volunteers are winning. We're going to jump right back to the questions here with Nashville 615. What was the atmosphere like in the Swamp before and after it was cleared when we imposed our will? I will give the Florida fans credit, Eric Kane. They showed, and they were there. It was a packed house. I give them credit. They showed. Now, they didn't stay long. There was a bunch of them left at the half, and then they all left after Tom Petty. They serenaded some Tom Petty at the end of the third quarter. But they showed. They tried. I don't think they had any optimism coming into the game. But they tried. Their team didn't give them anything to cheer for, but they did show up. It was not a bunch of empty seats to start the game. It quickly became empty seats as the game progressed.
No, it definitely did. I was actually surprised to see how many people were still there to begin the second half. There were some that left in the second quarter, like we mentioned earlier. But no, I thought the atmosphere was awesome. I thought it was great, and they were, the on field kind of pump up team was still trying to get them pumped up, and it's not much to any avail because of how the game was dictated. But they did the fourth quarter song, and then everybody left. And the fourth quarter song, I caught some heat on Twitter because I said that's the best fourth quarter song in the league, and I don't think it's close. It was awesome.
It is. I mean, it's the best thing they do in their game presentation. The rest of their game presentation is not much. It's a little high school Harry at times with some of the things they do. Everybody's into that song to start the fourth quarter. I mean, it's the interaction with that one is well done. So you can knock them for plenty of things about their stadium, but you can't knock Tom Petty to start the fourth quarter because it's they hit the right song and everybody's caught on to it there. It's one of those they just kind of fell into, I guess.
And it just doesn't make – I mean, it makes a whole lot of sense. Maybe not last night, but it makes a whole lot of sense. It's perfect for a football game. All right. We'll continue on with the questions here in a moment, but want to bring on Joey Dwyer from Vandy SI to come on and talk to us about Diego Pavia and that Vanderbilt football team that's got a lot to ride. Got a lot to play for on Saturday coming to Neyland Stadium. Joey, really appreciate the time, man. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys. I wish I had the mic setups you guys have right now, but at my parents' house at home. So sorry about next time. We'll have a much better setup for you guys.
You're good. Joey, I'm curious about. There's a lot of things Vanderbilt's done well all year long, but the last 3 games, Pavia has been just unbelievable. And so we'll get to him in a second. I'm more curious about where you think this team is coming out of the open date and how important the open date was for this team getting one that late in the season with all they've got in front of them.
Yeah, I think it was really important for them. And I think it was Dan Wolken who tweeted it heading into the open week. I mean, their defense was not the same before the bye week. I heard some talk that they were banged up on the front seven. I think everybody's banged up in the front seven this time of year, so I don't think that was really an excuse. Clark Lee was even asked during the week, like, are you thinking about taking over defensive play calling? It got to that point, guys. And I think, as you saw against Kentucky, their defense was much better. They gave up barely over 100 yards in the first 3 quarters of the game. And then in the second half of the fourth quarter, when Kentucky got a lot of its yardage, got 7 of its 17 points, it was mostly Vanderbilt's reserves in the game. And that's not to say that it's got any chance of completely shutting down Joey Aguilar and the Tennessee offense. I don't think that's realistic. But the Vanderbilt defense of 3 weeks ago had no chance to go in to Neyland to beat Tennessee. I think this Vanderbilt defense might have a chance to do it. I feel like they found their rotation at corner a little bit. I feel like they're a little bit fresher up front, whether that's injury related or whether that's just general fatigue. We've talked a lot over the years about Vanderbilt has really faded down the stretch of seasons. And even when they weren't at this level, their product was just nowhere near as good late in the year as it was at the beginning of the year. Now, I think the bye week certainly helps, and I also think their roster makeup is much different. I think they're deeper, and I think they're more talented as a whole, and I feel like they're more equipped, which the record would back up, to win in November nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at the offense, and obviously that's the exciting part of Vanderbilt's brand, even though you have a defensive-minded head coach. You got Diego Pavia. We know all about him. It feels like this year, like last year. I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't watch every Vanderbilt game last year. Knew it was exciting, and they finished 7-6 and all that. But it was Diego's show, and you had Eli Stowers, and you still have Eli Stowers, great player. But it feels like he's got such a better cast around him. I mean, Trey Richardson went off the other night. He's a really, really good wide receiver. Junior Sherrill's been playing for years. It feels like you still have Stowers, Alexander in the backfield. It's Pavia does a lot of the run game, obviously, but he's a pretty good tailback. What's the supporting cast around him, and who are some of those guys that can make you hurt if you're Tennessee's defense?
For sure. I'll start bigger picture here because I think it's important. Last year, you're looking at it and you're saying that's what a good Vanderbilt football team has to look like. They have to have ball control offensively. They have to win in the margins. And really, their margin for error was slim throughout essentially all of last season. I think anyone who watched them could really observe that. You saw it in the Tennessee game when they got worn down, when Diego Pavia wasn't at his best. Tennessee ran him off the field, and I don't think there was any question that they were much sharper earlier in the year, kind of like we talked about earlier. Now, it looks like a legitimately good football team. It doesn't look like, oh, they're just winning every game in the margins. They're playing keep away. And I think a lot of that has to do with the investment Clark Lee made on the offensive line in the offseason. We had a one-on-one in the summer, and he told me that it was his best offensive line, and it was no shock whatsoever because I think that was really their priority in the offseason. They're never going to have elite receivers. They're never going to have the guys Tennessee has out there just because of the system that Tim Beck runs. I mean, in a lot of ways, blocking is a lot more important for their wide receivers than going out and being elite pass catcher is. But generally, they're more explosive on the perimeter. Trey Richardson, like you mentioned, has been a big help there. I think he gives them a new dimension. Eli Stowers has a lot less pressure on him nowadays. My big thought was Eli Stowers is probably going to regress statistically because they don't have as much around him. That hasn't been the case. He's been excellent throughout the year, especially the 2 games before the Kentucky game. So I think it all starts on the offensive line. They've got 2 really good tackles. They've got 2 guards who are really good, and they've got one of the best centers in the SEC. That's really the difference for me, Eric.
Joey, when you look at Pavia, I mean, he's been sacked a good bit the last 2 or 3 weeks, but when you look at him and you compare him now to where he was last year, and I don't mean health at the end of last year, I just mean his game last year. How is he a better quarterback this year than he was last year?
Yeah, I think he's a lot less reliant on his legs. And I've asked him multiple times, were you a better quarterback than you were last year? And he always deflects it to the offensive line and the wide receivers being better. And I think some of that is to play in it. I think his deep ball accuracy is a lot better. I think he's more confident throwing the deep ball nowadays than he was last year. And generally, I think he's just less reliant on his legs, which has obviously preserved his health. And again, some of that's to do with the receiver, some of it's to do with the improved offensive line play. But I just think he's a much more complete quarterback. And I don't think he was really capable of these last 2 games last year. Some of that, again, surrounding supporting cast, some of that surrounding his confidence in throwing the ball downfield, which he would always tell you was great. At times, though, you could kind of see him back off of some stuff, I think. I think he's much better basically in every aspect, and a lot of it just has to do with the guys that are around him, which I know that sounds like a Josh Heupel politically correct answer, so apologies for that, but I think it is the truth in a lot of ways.
Yeah, come on.
Joe, go ahead, Eric. Sorry.
I was gonna say we get enough of that, man. You can be fun here. I was just gonna say you got your pulse on it, obviously. I mean, we watch the Tuesday night shows every single week and all that. I mean, Tennessee's obviously not in it like they were earlier in the year, but in your estimation, what's got to happen Saturday? Obviously, Vanderbilt's got to win, but what's got to happen Saturday for Vanderbilt to punch its ticket?
Another cop-out answer here. I think a lot's got to happen on Tuesday for them in order to figure out what's going to happen Saturday.
Yeah.
Utah and Miami are the 2 real X factor teams I'm watching here. It's like, I think Vanderbilt's got to get up 3 or 4 spots to have a chance to be a college football playoff team. And right now they're ranked 14th. That's a problem. And the only real hope they have to jump and to really get themselves in position is by getting a little lucky on Tuesday and the committee kind of favoring what they did with the style points, with the explosive offense. And Clark Lee basically said, without saying, that Vanderbilt's all the way back on defense on Saturday. I think that's a big deal as well. I think a lot of it right now is, can Vanderbilt get the committee to see what it's seeing right now? I think that's going to determine really what has to happen. I think the Iron Bowl is really important for Vanderbilt. It needs Auburn to win that game. And I still think they need a lot of help. I think they're playing for a playoff berth on Saturday. If they win convincingly, I think it's hard to leave them out, and we don't know the odds of that happening. I think the odds of that happening are somewhat slim, but I mean, they do need a lot of help, and they've got to help themselves too. They can't just win this game. They've got to do it with some style, which, guys, I don't know that I ever thought I would utter that sentence about a Vanderbilt football team this time of year. I think it's just been like every time they play Tennessee outside of last year, it's like, oh, can they keep within 20? Interesting to talk that way this time of year.
I'm curious, based on that, just kind of where is Vanderbilt with this game? Is this a game they've had circled? I mean, we've all seen, the stuff that Pavia said on the I guess it was the Bussin' with the Boys podcast, and we saw the Netflix stuff that came out over the summer and things like that. Kind of where is this game in Vanderbilt's eyes, and what do you make of some of the offseason Tennessee talk that Vanderbilt brought to the table?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of coaching staff talk that was not very positive towards Pavia after that clip. I think basically everyone surrounding the program was like, "Why did you say that? That was stupid." But I mean, that's who Diego Pavia is, and that's really kind of what this team has built its identity off of is an extreme confidence that blends in with delusion in some ways. And I mean, if you look at it, a lot of it has paid off for them to this point. Diego Pavia has always said that he thinks he's the best quarterback in college football. He's among the Heisman candidates right now. That Clark Lee basically had a borderline delusion for 3 years that he could turn this thing, and it finally started to come to fruition last year. So I guess with all that being said, they believe they can go into Knoxville and win. That hasn't always been the case for Vanderbilt football teams, as you guys know, over the years, and I think that's a big deal in itself. And it shouldn't be surprising at all considering kind of where this thing is. But I think it's a huge game, and I don't think they'll really be distracted by the college football playoff stuff. If you give one thing to this team, it's ever since that loss against Georgia State last year, they've been locked into every task that they needed to be locked into. I don't know that I've ever seen them since that day come out and I said, well, they're not in this mentally or their leadership isn't good enough. So I would say they're in a good place going into this game. Clark Lee has not avoided the idea that um, they are firmly on the college football playoff bubble and they need to win in order to do that. He's told the team that. But there have been other distractions, like the Clark Lee contract extension is kind of looming over the team right now. It was against Kentucky, and Vanderbilt just kind of came out and took care of business. So if they win, or if they lose, I don't think it will be for a lack of mental fortitude. I think it would just be Tennessee being more talented than them.
Yeah, I mean, I still think the dumbest comment on that Netflix show was nothing that Diego Pavia said. It was what Clark Lee said. I was brought in here to be the savior of the program, and I thought that was the silliest thing I've ever heard in my life. He's done a fantastic job there, but I thought that was just the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. Kind of on that note, back to Pavia, Donovan, comes in and says, "Hey, could Joey back up his trash talk because Saturday is going to be a hornet's nest?" Plus those two comments. His only
I
game
didn't
this year,
talk any
Alabama
trash.
shut him
I
down.
didn't talk any trash.
No, not the trash talking in Pavia in that sense. On the Hornets' nest, and I tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, obviously, I don't cover Diego Pavia, but I feel like he's just fueled by all this, right? Like he's going to step into Neyland, and he's not going to bat an eye. Now he might not play good, but like he's going to go out there and do his thing. He's one of those guys I feel like just fuels off everybody looking at him, everybody talking about him.
Yeah, I wrote it on Saturday. It was his senior day, and all the eyes were on him. Clark Lee basically begged all of Nashville to come out and see him one last time, and that's when he put together his best performance in a Vanderbilt uniform. I think that's fitting, and I also think it's fitting. You guys remember that was one of his worst games last year was against Tennessee. I think it was embarrassing for him in a lot of ways. He was dejected after it. And then he goes out in the summer and starts talking about how he's going to whoop up on Tennessee. That's truly unlike anything I've seen from anybody. I think if you lose to somebody once and you do it that decisively, a lot of people back down. Most people do. Diego Pavia is a different type of person in that way. And I think if he's ever going to get any crap from Tennessee, he's going to give it right back. And like you said, I think that's what he wants. I think he wants this to be maybe not contentious, but I think he wants this to be high energy. He wants there to be some edge on both sides. And I think that's really what propels him to success. And you've seen it like in the bye games they have, it hasn't been the same Diego Pavia at times as it has been when the lights are the brightest. These are the brightest lights I think Vanderbilt's ever played under, not even this core, but maybe the program in its history. So I don't expect this to be a game he backs down in, nor should anyone.
Joey, a quick question from me, and then I think Eric's got one more to wrap it up here. Give me a key in this thing for Vanderbilt to win. Not named Diego Pavia, not named Eli Stowers. Give me something Vanderbilt has to do in this game. You think to win the game outside of the obvious with those two guys?
I think it's just got to build itself some margin for error, and that doesn't mean going up 20-0 early. It means you got to hit on an explosive play. You've got to have a huge turnover forced against Tennessee. Those are the things that have really allowed them to pull upsets over the years. And obviously the betting line's not huge here, but going into Neyland in a game that I think is important for both teams, Tennessee's going to bring it. It's going to be an uphill battle in a lot of ways. Vanderbilt's got to hit the 60-yard deep bomb to Trey Richardson, or Diego Pavi's got to break a couple of tackles on a 3rd and 10. It's got to have a few plays where you look at it and say, well, because of that, they don't have to get it to 3rd and 2 every time, or they don't have to maybe never turn the ball over. Like they have to build themselves in some room for mistakes because Tennessee's too good to play a mistake-free game against. That's the thing for Vanderbilt football. And I think that's why it struggled against Tennessee for so long, is just because it doesn't have the explosiveness on the perimeter that Tennessee has. It hasn't had the havoc on the Tennessee quarterback that Tennessee's had on its quarterbacks. I think that's a big deal in itself. And the margin for error has always been small for this program. It's got to make it a little bit bigger on Saturday if it's going to have a chance.
Yeah,
And
that was kind of.
I say have a chance as if like it's a 10-point underdog. I just mean like if it's really going to be serious about winning this game, it's got to be able to do that.
Yeah, no doubt. That was actually going to be kind of my question, like essentially, what's got to go right for Vanderbilt to win this game. But since you kind of spoke on that there, we'll end with this one. Who's going to be the Vanderbilt quarterback next year? It's not going to be Pavia, right? I mean, he's going on. I know he's still in the lawsuit, but he's going on. Is it going to be Jared Curtis?
I think the odds are decent right now. I don't know for sure, but it certainly seems to be trending that way, which if you told me that even like 3 weeks ago, I would have told you you're an idiot and that would never happen. But guys, we're truly witnessing a different era of Vanderbilt football. And if they get Jared Curtis, that would demonstrate their sustainability. And to me, the idea that they're even in the mix for Jared Curtis tells me that they can really land an impact transfer quarterback if they don't get Curtis. And I think that might be even the bigger deal. I think landing Jared Curtis is a lot bigger than Jared Curtis if you're Vanderbilt.
It's a really good point. That's well said. Joey Dwyer, Vandy SI. Great stuff, man. Really appreciate you coming on, and we'll be following your work to get the scoop on Vanderbilt this week before Tennessee and the Commodores in a big-time game for both these programs coming up on Saturday. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Enjoyed it. Enjoy your work.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, Joey. Appreciate you, man.
All right, good stuff there. Again, Joey does fantastic work. He and his coworkers they did a story on the wide receiver Richardson from over the weekend. They did a behind the scenes story on Diego Pavia from over the weekend. They do really, really good work. So if you want to get some inside scoop, some knowledge about Vanderbilt leading into this game, go check out their work at Vandy SI. Brent, let's get back into the comments. There's a couple of questions that
By the way, I love Sam Smith. I just love him.
I don't. Speak for yourself.
He just chimes in. That one right there. It's like, he's always off the top rope, man. It's always off the top rope. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He's always loud, that's for sure. Here's a good one. He got in there. He got some run for a couple of snaps the other night. Can Bennett Warren be trusted in the future? I think it's going to be interesting to see Tennessee at the tackle position. Obviously, David Sanders, Jesse Perry can play tackle. Bennett Warren, is he a starter for you? Is he that third tackle? Is Tennessee going to go get a tackle? I thought Bennett Warren was a guy that should have got a whole lot of run in that New Mexico State game. Is he a guy that Tennessee likes and kind of where he's come? He was a late arrival on campus. You remember last year? He didn't get here till summer. Where's Bennett Warren right now?
I mean, I think he's developing, and I think he's improving. I think the question is, where's Bennett Warren's patience level with everything right now? I mean, he's sitting there wondering, is he going to be the right tackle? Is he going to be the third tackle? What's Lance Hurd going to do? Like, he's going to be trying to figure out over the course of the next, month and a half, just kind of what is his opportunities at Tennessee in front of him? But because, I mean, that's the cycle we live in. That's the world we live in. But I mean, I think Tennessee's got some trust in him. In Tuscaloosa, Alabama, when Lance Hurd could not get his ankle right, couldn't get his ankle taped the right way, I mean, that's where they went at left tackle was with Bennett Warren, and he did a nice job on that drive. That was the drive that I guess got Tennessee down there to the half, right before the half and the interception. Hurd came back in, but I thought he held up well in that moment, and then he stepped right in when he had the moment for just a couple of plays on Saturday when David Sanders went out, and I thought he was fine. I think it's more about how patient has Bennett Warren with where he's at and what does he think his role is going to be next year.
Same question, but for William Satterwhite, and this one might be different because again, if everything stays the same, Sam Pendleton's your center next year, but Satterwhite was in that competition in the spring and of course in fall. They've rotated him in some this year, but clearly Pendleton's the guy. Where do you think Satterwhite is in terms of his progression?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think he's okay. I mean, he stepped right in and had the one snap when Pendleton had to go out Saturday night, and I think he's done some things. I mean, his snaps have been better. I think Pendleton's gotten better. I think one of the reasons why the rotation has trimmed down a little bit is twofold. One, Pendleton's ankle has gotten better. And two, I think Pendleton's snaps have gotten better. I don't think it floats. I don't think it's late as it was early in the year. I think Sam Pendleton is clearly getting more comfortable in this offense, and the result of his play, I think Eric has limited that rotate, and his health has limited that rotation at the center position.
I would agree. I think Pendleton's been really good this year, but I do think that there were some learning curves because remember he was not a true center. He's like most centers at the college realm. You're learning to play that position. You're adapting, and he's a guy that started 7 or 8 games at Notre Dame at guard last year. So I think the more he's repped, I think that he's been doing well. I think from a communication standpoint, he's been just what you want up there. I think from a mentality standpoint, he's everything you want up there. I've been really impressed with Sam Pendleton for sure this year, and I think that. Man, again, I'm not trying to talk about next year because we'll have 9 months to do that. But you look at this offensive line, you look at this offense in general. I mean, Pendleton, Moy, Perry, Sanders, Sham. Offensive line, you're going to feel much better. I mean, coming into this year, you were replacing 4 starters up there, and you were expecting Lance Hurd to take a step. He's certainly taken that step. You should have a couple of backs back as well. Should have 2 wide receivers you like. We'll see what they do at quarterback. This offense has potential to be, pretty good next year, and I think a lot of that has to do with the offensive line that continues to get better.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that.
Yeah. Speaking of that real quick, and we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on this, but there was some news there at the end of the week about Joey being listed as a plaintiff in that Diego Pavia lawsuit. Any chance that Joey could be Tennessee's quarterback? What's that kind of look like, I guess, and the timing of all that? I think this has potential to be expedited as well because they want to get it in there before that transfer portal window. But the timing of all this is going to be interesting because, again, Tennessee's got to figure out what they want to do. Obviously, they've got some young guys that they really, really like at that position, that they believe in, that they want to develop and all that. But I think this will be interesting the next month or so.
Yeah, I think the timing of it is the bigger thing. Like, when's a decision going to be made on this? Does it get kicked down the road, kick the can down the road a little bit? That was kind of where they were at with the 5-for-5 deal with basketball. They were going to basically drag that out. Of course, it's still being drug out. But the thought was it was never going to get ruled early enough that it would impact guys last year in basketball for Zakai Ziegler, for example, or Gainey, for example, about possibly coming back. I don't know. Are they going to tie this up long enough that you're kind of through the transfer portal window before you make a decision and it kind of takes care of itself? I don't know. I think that's, I think there's going to be some people that counter, like, at some point you have to be out of eligibility. And what does that look like? And you can't have guys playing when they're 28, 30 years old, I don't think, in college football, who are playing 7th, 8th years, that kind of thing. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't think Joey has any idea what it looks like. I think it's just one of those deals where his people have jumped on the lawsuit and looking for bird in hand, security, whatever you want to call it, options. So we'll see what the timeline is. I don't have anybody telling me any kind of definitive time in terms of when a ruling might be made.
It was December 14th last year whenever Pavia was granted injunction and that waiver for Star Thomas, Miles Kitzelman, and everybody. That was December the 14th. I'm not saying that's going to happen this year.
Right.
I'm just saying that was the timeline last year. And you said it right there. It's just another option, right? And you can't, whether it's Joey Aguilar, whether it was Pavia last year, whether it's anybody, you can't blame these guys for trying. Zakai Ziegler, you can't blame these guys for trying to maximize their ability to make money right now because for a lot of these guys, you'll never make close to this amount of money ever again. So,
Sure.
I don't blame them from that aspect.
No.
But it certainly will be interesting to kind of follow that around.
By the way, is that Wolf of Lon? What is that tag there? The great reference there. That's a terrific reference to a really a cult classic hit that was not very good, but is just got its own mark. And what was that? Necessary Roughness was the movie. You probably never saw that movie. Kathy Ireland was in that movie. It's a really good movie. I can't think of the character's name, the quarterback, Scott Bakula's character. I can remember a bunch of the other characters' names. Anyway, you should watch it sometime when you're bored. I would not call it a great classic, but it was a fun movie that everybody watched when it first came out. It had it had great trailers, and then all the moments were kind of captured in the trailer.
All the great stuff you saw it in 2 minutes. And
yeah, that's exactly right. Jason Bateman's in it. Sinbad's in it. The couple, you had the guy from Saturday Night Live who was the commentary in it. It was the PA announcer as well. Uh, it was Blake was the quarterback's name. I can't remember his last name. His first name. It's Blake something, but that was his last name. It was Blake.
Listen, I'll put in the queue behind. I'll watch the replacements for the 500 of the time. Then I'll watch this one, and we'll see which one's better.
Oh, you'll like the replacements a lot better than you like this movie. Okay, I'm just telling you. I'm not calling it a good movie. I'm just saying it's there. It's kind of in the Paul Blake. That's exactly right. That was his name. Thank you. I appreciate the little side commentary I'm having over here on the side, but that's who it was there. Paul Blake was the character's name in that deal.
Now that we got that taken care of, we'll hit a couple of questions here out the door.
Yeah, get back to what people want to hear about. Okay.
We're going to see Boswell and Estrella playing in Vegas this week. Rick Barnes had a media a Zoom today, and I believe he said that Estrella is going to be out this week in Vegas. But potentially you could see Boswell at some point in time. Tennessee's going to play a couple of games out there, and I think this would be big because I think maybe I'm reading too much into this, Brent, obviously. But, I mean, you know, Tennessee's had some big-time moments from Berg and from Abram and all that, but I think the two guard is going to be valued defensively because you've got offense coming from your point guard and from your small forward. Boswell brings that. So if he's healthy, I think he's got a really good chance to kind of lock down that too. We'll see what happens, but his health I think is going to be big, but getting back into the swing of things before SEC play, maybe you see him this week. If so, that'd be great because they're going to see some good competition.
Well, it's not just this week, but over the course of the next couple of weeks, when you look at it, come back, you got Syracuse and you've got Illinois on the docket there as well. You've got some good teams that Tennessee is going to be playing here over the course of the next month. And Rick Barnes has said on the record that fifth starter, that fifth spot, which is the two-guard spot, is going to go to defense.
Yeah.
He who plays defense is going to play the most. And you'll get a little bit of offensive crumbs, but you want to be that guy, you're going to have to be the best defender, best on-ball defender, particularly on the perimeter. So we'll see what that looks like.
Hubs, who do you want to see Tennessee playing a bowl game?
Oh, I don't know. I hadn't even thought about it. I mean, I think Tennessee, if they win Saturday, I think they're probably going to Tampa. If they lose Saturday, we'll see what happens. It could be Jacksonville or somebody else could jump into play. We'll see what that looks like. I don't know. I mean, a Big Ten team, I guess, right? That's who you're supposed to play if you're in Tampa. So roll with one of those teams. I mean, Michigan would be fun because it's Michigan.
Michigan would be fun.
I think, you know, anytime you can get a name program that's good for ratings, and Lord knows they need all the help they can get. Bowls do with any ratings out there. So you're trying to get the best matchup you can get.
If there were no tie-ins, what bowls and opponents would you like to see? Michael actually followed this up by saying, I bet Kaner would say the Pinstripes Bowl. You're darn right. I would love to go watch a football game in Yankee Stadium. That'd be so much fun.
Can you imagine how cold that is up there?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
It's supposed to be a reward. Bowl games are reward in the heat, in the warmth somewhere. Get me in a dome or get me in some heat. That's where I'm going if there's no bowl tie-ins. I don't need to go to the Rose Bowl, but get me into some warmth somewhere along the way.
It's funny you say Rose Bowl because I mean that's automatically where I want to go just because that's such a significant historic thing, and that's why last year. Man, I was just like, I mean, I was wanting Tennessee to win that game so bad. And then, like, obviously it never happened because they got drilled, but I'm just like, man, I was going to go to Pasadena. Like, I wanted to go so bad. I would love to experience the Rose Bowl one time in my,
You know what? And let me say this. The facility is not very nice. The pageantry of the Rose Bowl might be different than just a game in the Rose Bowl. Hats off to Michael, 86-69. If you can go to San Diego for a week for the Holiday Bowl, after Christmas, that's probably not a bad place to go. Yeah. That's probably not a bad place to go, and for sure. So, that one would be up there because there's no chance Tennessee can ever go to the Holiday Bowl with the tie-ins the way they are now.
The Tennessee won't go there this year, but like one of those new bowls, there's a bowl in Vegas, right?
Yeah, there's bowls all over the place.
When Tennessee had divisions, I believe the Vegas Bowl was supposed to be a tie-in for one of those like bottom feeder SEC West teams. Anyway, I think that'd be kind of fun, but of course, there's things happening in Vegas all the time. I'm intrigued to see who Tennessee's going to play. I think, as you guys would say, it's always Florida's the big deal. Orlando, Tampa. I think that's cool.
Go to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, man. Go get some Pop-Tarts.
That would be fun. That'd be a blast. It's going to be a fun week. The final game of the regular season, I can't believe we're already here. But Should be a big week. Tennessee, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's got so much on the line. Tennessee, of course, does as well. You do not want to lose the third game at home this year. You want to finish off on a high note, finish 9-3, get a good bowl game. Want to continue this momentum, this trajectory of Josh Heupel. You want to see what happens next with this roster, kind of get into this next phase of the offseason, bowl season, all that and more. Plus, basketball's playing in Las Vegas this week. Recruiting's happening right now. National Signing Day is literally like in less than 2 weeks, or in a little over 2 weeks. We got so much happening right now at Volquest.com and on the Journal Scorer. So come hang out with us. Always something happening right now. Your first week, if you're a new member, your first week, $1 for your first week. $1 for your first week. So come check us out over at Volquest.com. For Brent Hubbs, I'm Eric Kane. A big thanks to Spivey King and Spivey LLP for being a part of the show, being our presenting sponsor each and every Sunday night. We'll be back next Sunday after the Tennessee Vanderbilt game, and we will talk about what's going to happen for Tennessee in bowl season, all that and more, right here on the Rocky Top Rewind.